this great occasion. I'm just here to welcome everyone and like the new opened up area here in the library. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Glen Grant, and he can fill us in on more of the presentation today. Mr. Glen Grant.
I like a man in a few words, right? So in that note, I'll introduce our MPP, Jim. Come on up and have a few words. Well,
if I can get up. A few back problems, but that's okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. It's great to be here with you this morning, and certainly to be a grad of this school. It's a great honor to be here at this unveiling. Although I did not have Grace MacLeod Roberts as an art teacher. In fact, I didn't even study art in school. I knew her quite well. She did a lot of supply work after she had retired. She came back and did some supply work, and especially up at the north end. And I don't know why anybody would have taken that north end, but anyway, it was a busy end of the school, the technical end, and a lot of the technical students up there. And she had a lot of fun in her classes with her students. I certainly know she's an accomplished artist. Having acquired one of her paintings, I have a painting of hers hanging in my Queen's Park office, and a beautiful painting of a sugar bush. I had it restored. It was in pretty bad shape, but I had it restored, and it's one of my cherished possessions. And in September, that painting will be on display down at the Francophone Cultural Centre on Anthony Street. They've asked me to display my Queen's Park and my office art, and I have been a collector of art for a long time, and certainly I wanted to profile Grace MacLeod Roberts at that in my office, and I did just that with that beautiful sugar bush. So to all those who had this idea, I think it's wonderful. The more that we can showcase those who laid the foundation for artists. And I heard an expression, the first lady of art in Cornwall. You're absolutely right. I remember Grace MacLeod Roberts always renting a storefront down on Pitt Street or 2nd Street and having a show once a year or yearly. But I certainly know she had a number of art shows that I attended, and I always found her to be just a wonderful lady, quite a character. She loved to tell a good story and a good joke, and I learned much from her, and I just hope that this will be a constant reminder here at CCVS of the great work that she did here at CC and in the life of our community as the First Lady of Art in Cornwall. Thank you. That's it.
thank you, Jim. Next up, David McDonald, the trustee.
Thank you, Glenn. It's my pleasure to be here this morning, and thank you very much. Obviously, I didn't know Grace MacLeod Roberts either. I didn't attend CCVS, but that wasn't by choice. I lived in the North End, so it was a family thing at the time. But I want to welcome you here and thank you for being here. Certainly, we're celebrating 205 years of education at this building this year, and we don't get there by forgetting our past or not honoring the people that have made, as Jim said, the foundation for the education system here in Cornwall. We're standing in the Batista Library, where we've honored many, many people at this school in many different ways, and today is just another opportunity to honor one of these most important people who helped shape education over the past 205 years, who left memories for students here, and certainly made sure that their art was a passion for some of those students moving forward. So I guess the important thing I want to make sure that we emphasize on is we're honoring our tradition within this building, within this city. We're building on that moving forward. So it's important for the new students coming in to understand and have knowledge of those people who have helped establish this great school over the past 105 years, and making sure that we get another 205 years moving forward. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, David. Thank you. Before I make some comments, Ms. MacLeod, Ms. Roberts, I should say, I, Gracie, in high school, and art was always an option for us. We had options where we shops or whatever, and they were considered the easy subjects that you could pass. So she made comment of that when we first got in. She said, I'll have you know, everyone thinks art's an easy mark for them. You don't have that to pass. Well, I'll have you know, I've got work for you, and you're going to have to do a lot of it. Anyway, she found out pretty soon I was a lost cause in art. But, one person said the only thing I could draw was unemployment insurance. Anyway, the Gracie, we used to call her Gracie, and she never minded that. You know, we used to say, "Where's Gracie?" And she'd peek around. "I'm right here," and it's not Gracie, it's Miss Roberts. But she was a real nice lady and a lot of fun and a good teacher. Anyway, a few comments about Gracie. She was born on May 15th, 1899 in McCrimmon, and that's coincidentally where my mom was. It's a beautiful little area just north of Alexandria. Her teaching career began in the 1920s in a one-room schoolhouse. Later, she attended the Ontario College of Education and Ontario College of Art. Grace studied under a group of 7 member Arthur Lismer, J.W. Beatty, Hans Hoffman, and Emily Group. She spent 30 years as a high school teacher of art and English at Cornwall Collegiate and St. Lawrence High School. Grace is active during the 1960s, teaching night classes in art, Saturday's children's programs, and directing the Cornwall Art Association. She arranged for major showings of work to be displayed of ranking OSA and RCA members. Hundreds of Grace MacLeod's paintings now hang in prominent Cornwall homes and in Long Sault. A large example of her work hung for many years in the lobby of Cornwall General Hospital and Cornwall Public Library. She held 7 solo exhibitions of her own work and encouraged art awareness in Cornwall area. At one time, classes were given in Cordall's Mill, and she organized a large centennial art display in 1967. She was often called upon as an art authority. Grace MacLeod was a strong-willed and stubborn lady, ready to defend any cause in need of attention. She was an excellent teacher who inspired her students and responded to the curiosity and enthusiasm, and she loved young people best. The quality of her paintings was such that had she pursued it, she would have achieved national recognition as an artist. Gracie chose instead to devote her life to the education of Cornwall's youth. Gracie MacLeod was an individual who believed in speaking the truth, even when it meant she would be criticized for it. Her legacy to those who knew her is her strength of character, her honesty, her courage, and her determination to live her life her way. She died August 2nd, 1982 at St. Joseph's Villa. Gracie, I think she was missed by everybody that knew her. So. Anyway, moving on, retired teacher Verna Levere. A little presentation.
Well, my name is Verna Levere, and I taught 20 years in Central Public School and 15 years here, and 6 years out in the country. So I did my 40 years. The teachers today are only doing 30, and they're lucky if you get to 30. But it must be harder than it was then, but I enjoyed every minute of it, and I was pleased to retire after 40 years of teaching. I didn't have Grace MacLeod Roberts as a teacher, but she was a very good friend of mine. I met Grace when I first came to Cornwall in 1947. I had no car or anything like that, so it made you always walk to school. And Gracie didn't have a car either, so she walked to school. And I met her every morning. I'd be going to Central Public School, and she'd be coming here. And she'd always say good morning and talk about what she was going to be doing that day. And then later on, when I went to summer school, I took 3 summer schools in art, studying art. Not that I was ever a painter or anything like that, but it was really nice to be able to see the art at the art college, and I did those 3 summers. When she found that out, she wanted to know more about me and wanted me to help out with more things. But I wasn't really interested in that. The best use I made of that art was when I went to England. I taught, first year I went to England was I was an exchange teacher, and I taught in several schools in Liverpool, which was a very bad place after the war. And the kids there were just marvelous. I brought in all kinds of junk and taught them all kinds of things, and they just loved it. Had nothing themselves. I got presents from them that you wouldn't believe that I still have today, that I know they stole to bring to me. I know that. They would go past somebody's place and run in and grab something or bring their mother's jewelry or something to me. It was really great. Then I used it again when I went back and I taught 2 more years for National Defense, and then I taught for another year in Africa. In Africa I was teaching teachers, and that's when I used the art, because I could teach them a lot of things about that they never heard of before, couldn't do. Anyway, I've got away from Grace, and Grace and I had lots of meetings together, and she came to my place lots of times. I really enjoyed having her, and she was always asking me to buy abstract pictures. I didn't like them at all. You know, Grace had a period of these beautiful pictures that you're going to see here today, and they were sugar bush pictures and maple leaf pictures and lovely, lovely scenes of boats and things like that. Because I think she went, in the summer, she'd go down somewhere along the Atlantic and she'd have pictures there. But I never was able to get one of those, except through, I got one from Alice Brennan, who gave me one, and also from Mary Phillips, both teachers here. And so I have 2 of those, plus the other picture that Grace had made of a black and white picture of sort of like the bags that you're going to see today, but all different scenes of Cornwall. So I have that. That was the first thing I bought from her. And she still wanted me to buy these abstract pictures, but I didn't like her abstracts. So I didn't buy any pictures from her, but I have some. At any rate, she was a wonderful person and did a lot for the city. And I was one of the ones who called her the First Lady of Art. And the person who helped me get these things that you're going to see today was Rod Chan. And she recommended Rod Chan to me, because when we were talking one day, she said, what am I going to do with these things? These were all these linoleum prints that she had. And she says, I have nobody to leave them to. I don't know anybody in the country, and nobody in the country would know what to do with them. She said, will you look after them for me? Or will you take them? And I said, well, I'll take them. And she had this picture of the black and white thing of all the different Cornwall Bridge and those. And so she said, that is the print. And I'm giving it to you and entrusting it to you. And she said, so I said, well, I'll see Rod Chan. I know him. He was in Central Public School when I was there. The twins were good, and they were good in art too. And I taught them some art over there. And so I went to see Rod at St. Lawrence School where he was teaching. He said, sure, I'll do it. But he had a unit that he did every year with the kids. And it was linoleum printing. And he made them cut the linoleum prints out and did them. So I gave him this print, and he made about 10 copies of it. And I said, well, just whatever you can get done. And one of his students did them for him. So I gave him one, and I gave the principal one. And I brought the rest home, and I gave them around to different people. I brought one here to the library, and I gave them to some of my friends. And so that's where the linoleum prints came. I didn't know what to do with them then. She had a lot of prints that she used for making notes and cards to send out to people and so on, and they're very, very good. Actually, what I'd like to see done with them, I told Judy I didn't want somebody to get them that was just going to throw them in the garbage. So I gave them to Judy, and she's brought them back here. What I would like to see happen to those things is some of the students here now take the prints and make them into maybe notes or little things that they could sell, make some money out of them. But maybe that'll never happen. Depends on who the art teacher is, I guess, here. But anyway, that's how I got them, and I kept them until I gave them to Judy, because I thought she would look after them. We didn't want them to be thrown in the garbage. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next, Betty Ann, Betty Carter Edwards, sorry, and Kim and Helmer. And they'll break your leg what it's like to handle work with.
Cool.
My name is Betty Carter-Edwards, and I've been the art teacher here at CCVS for the past 11 years. And it's truly a joy to work in this building, I have to say. And I first would like to start off by thanking Judy Dopka for having us here today to speak to you about the whole process of making prints. It's truly been an honor, this whole experience. The lino block that we chose to print from, and you'll see in a few minutes, has a variety of Cornwall landmarks, and it has nice textures and cut marks in it. We made a number of prints, at least, I would say 20 prints. So I think you'll be pleased, 20 prints, but we did have some challenges throughout the process, and Kaylin will attest to that in a few minutes. Too much ink fills in the grooves and you lose the detail of the design. Not enough ink makes the print way too light, so that's not good either. We had to experiment with the right consistency of ink, but once we got it, we made at least 25 good prints from it, so we're very pleased with it. Also, over time, lino prints, it's called linoleum, but they're referred to as lino. They're very thin and they do get brittle over time, so we have to be very careful not to damage the print as we made them. So we're very, very careful. I've made lino blocks in the past myself, and this is where I have to read. I've made lino blocks myself in the past. But to create a print from a block designed by a former CCVS art teacher was something special. It was like opening a door into the past, allowing her work to live again. They say once a teacher, always a teacher, and I would hope that she would be proud that even after all these years, she's still having an impact on current visual art students. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce Kaylin Helmer. She ran one of the first few prints that we made off the block that you'll see shortly.
Hello, my name is Kaylin Helmer. I just graduated from CC, and Mrs. C asked me to help out with the printmaking a couple weeks ago. I thought it would be a cool idea, and when she told me that it was a former art teacher and the history behind the art, I thought it would be a really great experience. As she said, I can attest to the difficulties. I can't even number the amount of prints that we went through before we could get the perfect amount of ink on the linoleum. I thought it was really interesting to have such history, and recreating the art of a former teacher was truly an honor. And with printmaking, the board and the linoleum blocks, they can, when you're looking at them, they kind of look rough and messy. But as you put the ink on the right amount and you peel the paper off, it actually becomes a really interesting piece of artwork. And so I had a really great experience doing some of the first prints that we made and recreating the art of a former teacher.